Hey YouTube, this is Master of Flowers. This is going to be a quick video on something that's important to me as a DM, something that I do that helps me, and maybe it'll help like a newer DM. It seems so obvious when I say it, but I think a lot of people kind of forget about it. Is get out in life and do stuff. You know, my background is basically D&D. I've played other role-playing games, but D&D is where it's at. I'm kind of into that fantasy, whether it's high fantasy or low fantasy. It's all um, medieval oriented, and to that respect, little things like when I go camping, I make sure to fool around. Try a flint and steel, or to see how that works, or to try one of many other techniques that people use. It helps when you're describing that to the players. It's one thing to say, "Oh, I can't start a fire, and it takes me 3 minutes to start a fire." Well, when you have that experience and you've tried it, you can be like, "Yes, dude, it actually takes that long, if not longer, to start it." And the other things I find is that when I'm out in the woods, go explore. Go in the woods and stop and listen. You know, People say it's I'm in the woods, you hear birds. That's what I get with a lot of people when they're describing when they travel through the woods. But there's more to it. Maybe there's cicadas, doing that high-pitched squeal that they do, or there are peepers because it's early spring, which peepers are little frogs if you don't know. And those sounds, that forest sounds, you just get a better idea of what those noises are and what they make. I also found that a couple times when I've gone down to North Carolina to visit friends, there are caves in Virginia, the Crystal Caves. You go into those, and it kind of gives you an idea of, the smells that you get, the moisture, the ammonia smell that obviously has come off from thousands of bats, excrement all over the floor. It's things like that I think maybe are gross in some ways, but they do bring something to the game. As it makes your description seem more alive. And I don't think that, unless you're in the deep Arctic or something where there's no life at all, you're going to come up with some sort of life. And I think that that's a big part of description. I think that just doing things, if you have the capability, maybe take up martial arts. It helps when, I've been studying martial arts my whole life. I'm actually not actually studying anything at the moment, but I've studied Kempo Karate, and I studied Taekwondo for a while, and for 3 years I studied Bondo. And these things have helped me become a better storyteller. My friends always tell me that my combat sounds, or when I'm speaking about it, they really get engulfed in it. And I'm sure that portions of my combat devolves after so many rounds of combat. Sometimes you're not as, you tend to get into, he swings and misses. I'm sure I do that. But I know that I try to keep that in mind when I'm jamming, and I make sure to say, he feints to the left, then he parries your stroke and comes back with repose that hits you in the upper chest, deflected off your mail. Things like that can, if you understand the basics of combat, and that movement is a lot more important than just hacking into someone. That's something that's important to note. So, basically, I guess what I'm trying to just say is, get out there and experience stuff, Go for a walk in the park, and not just walk through the park because it's peaceful and you get your iPod playing. Take the microphones out of your ears and stop and listen. Those are things that are important. Take a deep breath, get a smell of what that nature smells like, and try to put that into words. Sometimes that's the hardest part. You're like, exactly what the smell is, but you just can't, verbalize it, or at least it's something that I have a problem with. So I work on it, obviously. So with that, I'll let you go. Have a good night.